I make you guys proud, and my next matches is
Alex Eala has just achieved something almost nobody expected. She captured a major WTA fan award despite not winning the Wimbledon title, proving that sometimes the biggest impact in tennis isn't measured only by the trophy you lift.
I believe in myself a lot.
And the number behind that achievement is exactly why this story has everyone talking: 89%. That was approximately the share of the fan vote Alex Eala received to win the WTA Star of the Swing Award for the 2026 grass court season, officially announced on July 17th. What makes the result even more remarkable is who she finished ahead of. Linda Noskova had just lifted the Wimbledon trophy only 4 days earlier. Yet when WTA fans were asked to choose the player who truly defined the grass court season, they overwhelmingly selected Eala instead. The comparison is impossible to ignore. Noskova won Wimbledon, while Eala's run ended in the round of 16. 5 days later, fans were given one simple question: who was the standout player of the entire grass swing? Their answer wasn't close. Eala dominated the voting by nearly a 9-1 margin. That is the real story, not the rumors, imaginary rivalries, or exaggerated reactions circulating online over the past few days. The facts are simple: a fan vote, a remarkable result, and a question that tennis doesn't always answer comfortably. What matters more, the trophies recorded in history books, or the player who captured the imagination of fans around the world? To understand why this happened, it's important to know what the Star of the Swing Award actually represents. This is an official WTA fan-voted honor presented after each section of the season, including the hard court, clay, grass, Asian, and indoor swings. Fans vote from a short list of standout performers, making it a recognition driven entirely by public support rather than tournament results alone. This year's grass court ballot featured Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova, finalist Karolina Muchova, and Alex Eala. When voting closed on July 17th, the WTA revealed that Eala had secured nearly 90% of all votes, with Noskova finishing second and Muchova third. Remarkably, all three players are only 21 years old, each delivering performances worthy of headlines throughout the season. Yet only one generated the level of excitement and conversation that translated into an overwhelming fan victory. Naturally, the outcome sparked immediate debate. Many tennis fans and commentators questioned how a Wimbledon champion could lose a fan award to a player who exited in the round of 16. From that perspective, the criticism is understandable. Winning Wimbledon has always been regarded as the ultimate achievement in tennis. You defeat every opponent placed in front of you, stand on center court, and raise the sport's most iconic trophy. Then, just days later, the fans of your own tour vote someone else as the defining player of the grass season. If you're Linda Noskova, it's easy to imagine that result feeling disappointing, even though she has made no public comments suggesting she feels that way. Traditional tennis fans also voiced strong opinions across online discussions, including threads hosted by Sportskeeda Tennis, where many described the outcome as a popularity contest that overshadowed a Grand Slam champion. Those reactions aren't coming from casual observers. They're from passionate followers of the sport who genuinely believe championships should remain the ultimate measure of success. And they're not entirely wrong. But that viewpoint tells only part of the story, because the WTA never created this award to recognize only who won the biggest trophy. It created it to recognize the player who left the strongest impression on fans throughout the entire grass court season. And according to an overwhelming majority of voters, that player was Alex Eala. The WTA never created the Star of the Swing Award to simply mirror the list of tournament champions. Grand Slam trophies already serve that purpose. Instead, this award recognizes something different: fan connection, lasting impact, and the story that resonates most throughout an entire swing of the season. By that standard, The result wasn't merely convincing, it was overwhelming. Alex Eala claimed nearly 90% of the vote, leaving the rest of the field far behind. That wasn't just one fan base cheering for a favorite. It was a worldwide tennis audience sending a clear message about the player who captured their attention more than anyone else. But how did a player who began the grass season outside the world's top 40 inspire that kind of support? The answer starts 5 weeks earlier at a tournament many casual fans barely noticed. The Lexus Birmingham Open, a WTA 125 event in England, is primarily a proving ground where players build confidence, regain form, and collect valuable ranking points. Eala entered knowing she needed as many grass court matches as possible before the bigger events. What she didn't expect was a week filled with rain delays, compressed schedules, and a physically demanding path to the title. Despite the challenging conditions, she battled through a tense 3-set final against Czech qualifier Nikola Bardankova to capture her second career WTA 125 championship. Looking back now, it's easy to overlook Birmingham because of everything that followed, but that week quietly changed the course of her season. It gave her valuable match experience on grass, boosted her confidence with another trophy, and earned the ranking points that helped secure a seeded position for the next tournament. That next stop was the Berlin Open, a prestigious WTA 500 event where many of the world's best players make their final preparations before Wimbledon. It was there that Eala truly announced herself. She advanced all the way to the semifinals, transforming a steady rise in the rankings into genuine momentum. More importantly, that run elevated her to the number 29 seed for Wimbledon, a position that ultimately shaped her path through the draw. That seeding led to one of the defining moments of the entire grass court season. On center court in the third round, Eala faced the defending Wimbledon champion, a player already decorated with multiple Grand Slam titles and widely regarded as one of the elite competitors of her generation. Few expected the result that followed. Eala edged an unforgettable first-set tiebreak 7-6 before dominating the second set 6-2 to complete one of the biggest victories of her career. The scoreline speaks for itself, but the significance reached far beyond the numbers. On one of tennis' biggest stages, with millions watching around the world, she defeated the reigning champion and became the first Filipino player in the Open era to reach the second week of a Grand Slam singles event. That achievement secured her place in history, but its emotional impact was even greater. For fans watching live, and for the millions who later saw the highlights, that match represented the moment Alex Eala stopped being viewed as a promising young talent and started being recognized as a genuine contender on the sport's biggest stage. Then came the reality check that often defines professional tennis. 4 days later, Eala returned to center court for her round of 16 match against Jasmine Paolini. It was a fiercely contested battle that ended 4-6, 6-4, 6-3 in Paolini's favor. There was no collapse and no one-sided defeat, just two top-level players pushing each other through 3 competitive sets. Eala had opportunities and even held the lead at different stages, but she couldn't quite close the match. In the traditional record books, that was the end of her Wimbledon journey, a round of 16 finish. But in the minds of tennis fans, the story had already taken on a life of its own. Just 5 days after that defeat, the WTA announced the star of the swing results, revealing that supporters around the world had already made their choice. They weren't voting despite her Wimbledon exit. They were voting because of everything she had accomplished throughout the grass court season and the unforgettable impression she left on the sport. The vote didn't ignore Alex Eala's Wimbledon defeat to Jasmine Paolini. It came after it. That's what makes the outcome so remarkable. Even though Linda Noskova went on to win the Wimbledon title, fans still backed Eala by an overwhelming margin of nearly 90% to 10%. Why? Because they weren't judging a single match. they were looking at the entire grass court season. They had watched Eala make her Grand Slam second week debut, defeat the defending Wimbledon champion on center court, and climb from world number 44 at the beginning of the grass swing to a career-high world number 28 by the end of it. That entire transformation happened in just 6 weeks. That was the journey fans were rewarding. The WTA itself reinforced that narrative in its official announcement on July 17th, explaining that Eala's momentum began with her title run in Birmingham, accelerated through her impressive semi-final performance in Berlin, and culminated in the best Grand Slam result of her career at Wimbledon. The organization also noted that she finished ahead of a field that included newly crowned Wimbledon champion Linda Noskova. That matters because it wasn't outside commentators defining the story. It was the WTA itself acknowledging why fans voted the way they did. There was no controversy over the counting of votes and nothing to reverse. The result reflected exactly what supporters around the world had chosen. Recent history shows this isn't unusual either. Fan awards have never been designed to simply duplicate the list of tournament winners. In 2025, Zheng Qinwen was voted the WTA singles fan favorite despite missing a significant portion of the season through injury and without winning a Grand Slam title. Those awards have always celebrated influence, excitement, and the players who captured the imagination of fans, not just those who collected the biggest trophies. That distinction becomes even more important when considering what this result means for Eala's future. The Star of the Swing Award isn't equivalent to a Grand Slam or a year-end number 1 ranking, but it does send a powerful message. It tells sponsors, tournament directors, broadcasters, and the tennis world that one of the most compelling attractions on tour is a player currently ranked number 28. Fan engagement translates directly into commercial value. Every tournament leading toward the US Open, from Washington to Montreal and Cincinnati, understands that Eala's matches now attract attention, television viewers, and social media engagement. For the Philippines, the significance is even greater. Before this remarkable summer, no Filipino player had reached the second week of a Grand Slam singles tournament during the Open era. Now the country has a player who has achieved that milestone, climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 28, and earned the support of nearly 90% of a global fan vote. Those achievements aren't just symbolic, they represent a turning point for Philippine tennis. Increased international recognition often leads to greater investment, stronger sponsorship opportunities, expanded media coverage, and more resources for future generations of players. Sometimes one breakthrough season changes an entire sporting landscape, and this has the potential to be one of those moments. Yet perhaps the most important lesson comes from the losses rather than the victories. It's tempting to focus only on the award and overlook the disappointment that came before it, but that would miss the point entirely. Eala's defeat to Jasmine Paolini in the Wimbledon round of 16 was painful precisely because she had given herself a genuine chance to advance. It wasn't the first time she had come agonizingly close to an even bigger achievement. In 2025, she also suffered heartbreak in the Eastbourne final after leading the championship match tiebreak before narrowly falling short. Those defeats remain part of her story. The fan vote didn't erase them, nor should it. Instead, it recognized something deeper. That even without lifting every trophy, Alex Eala had become the player whose journey, resilience, and breakthrough performances resonated more powerfully with fans than anyone else's throughout the entire grass court season. That is why the loss to Jasmine Paolini should never become the only sentence in Alex Eala's story. Yes, she lost that round of 16 match at Wimbledon. That fact remains unchanged. But losing one match is not the same as losing an entire season. And that distinction is exactly what nearly 90% of the WTA's voting audience recognized. They looked beyond a single result and judged the complete journey. So we return to the number that started this conversation. nearly 90% to just over 10%. A player who did not win Wimbledon was chosen ahead of the player who lifted the trophy in an award specifically created to measure impact beyond the scoreboard. Eala didn't skip the smaller tournaments or wait for the biggest stages. She laid the foundation by winning the Birmingham title, carried that momentum into a breakthrough semifinal run in Berlin, and transformed herself from a promising young talent into a global tennis story with her unforgettable victory over the defending Wimbledon champion on center court. Although her run ended against Jasmine Paolini, the excitement surrounding her season never faded. Days later, fans around the world confirmed that by awarding her nearly 9 out of every 10 votes for the WTA Star of the Swing honor. Anyone who has followed the WTA Tour for years understands how unusual a landslide of that magnitude really is. Fan voting can often be competitive, but margins like this are exceptionally rare. Of course, no one should confuse a fan award with the ultimate measure of a career. Tennis greatness is still defined by Grand Slam titles, world rankings, consistency across different surfaces, and achievements accumulated over many seasons. Those standards will always matter. Yet moments like this reveal something rankings alone cannot capture. When an overwhelming majority of fans agree on who defined an entire stretch of the season, it signals that a player has reached a new level of relevance within the sport. Alex Eala is no longer trying to earn recognition. She has already earned it. She is no longer standing outside the spotlight hoping for an opportunity. She has become one of the central stories in women's tennis. As the North American hardcourt season begins with tournaments in Washington, Montreal, and Cincinnati, she will arrive as a career-high world number 28, a seeded player, and one of the names fans, broadcasters, and tournament organizers will be watching closely. The expectations surrounding her have changed because her position in the sport has changed. She is no longer knocking on the door occupied by the game's biggest stars. She has already stepped inside. And perhaps the clearest evidence of that transformation isn't found in a ranking list or a trophy cabinet. It's found in a simple vote count that showed nearly 90% of tennis fans around the world believed Alex Eala was the defining story of the 2026 grass court season. If you've enjoyed this complete breakdown of Eala's remarkable grass court campaign, stay tuned for what's next. The North American hardcourt swing, the road to the US Open, and the next chapter of her rapidly rising career are just beginning, and we'll be here to follow every match along the way.